You just got home. You push the door open and step inside. It clicks shut. And honestly, your body doesn't wait even a second. The thing it's been holding back all day just kind of releases on its own. Your shoulders drop. Your jaw unclenches. Your chest just lets go. It's not like anything bad happened out there. You just spent all day being around people. And now you're standing in your own place. And the quiet is just there, already, like it was waiting. No footsteps but yours. No one half watching TV in the next room. No one needing something from you right now. Just this. Just silence. To most people, that feeling is a problem to fix. To you, it's the best part of the entire day. And if that sounds familiar, if closing your front door feels like the first real breath you've taken in hours, stay right here. Because what I'm going to say here, it might actually shift something for you. So picture this. You tell someone you live alone. Their face does this thing. You know exactly the look I mean. The slight head tilt. The eyes going a little softer, a little sadder. The way they say, oh, and then pause, like they're calculating how much sympathy you need, and whether right now is the right moment to offer it. Like living alone is something that happened to you, not a choice, not a preference. Just something you're dealing with until something better comes along. Society has spent decades running one very specific story. Living alone is a waiting room. It's what you do between relationships, between roommates, between stages of life that actually matter. The goal is always to fill the space. Find a partner, get someone in there, split the bills, argue over cabinet space, figure out together who buys the dish soap this time. The possibility that someone could pick silence on purpose, that they might actually do better because of it, that part doesn't get included in the story. But psychology tells a different story. A pretty different one, actually. The research keeps turning up the same finding. People who genuinely thrive living alone aren't just socially deprived versions of regular people. Something else is going on with how they're wired. And once you understand what's actually happening inside their minds, that sympathetic head tilt starts looking a lot like projection. So let's get into it. Here is what's really happening inside your solo fortress. Trait 1. Your home is a sensory factory reset. Think about what your brain is quietly doing when other people share your space. You might not catch it consciously, but it never actually stops running. Whose footsteps are those? Are they heading to the kitchen or toward your room? Is that a door opening or closing? Is someone annoyed about something? Are they about to want something? Do you need to be aware? Psychologists have a name for this. They call it ambient social monitoring. It's your nervous system running a continuous background scan of the social environment around you. And here's the thing about background scans. They cost something. Even when you're not actively having a conversation, even when everyone in the apartment is completely quiet, your brain is still running that process, still checking, still slightly alert. Rachel and Stephen Kaplan, environmental psychologists at the University of Michigan, built what they called attention restoration theory around one key observation: the kind of focused attention you use all day, at work, in meetings, making decisions. It runs out, not metaphorically, actually runs low. And the only thing that genuinely restores it isn't sleep alone. And it definitely isn't scrolling through your phone. It's mental quiet, the kind where nothing in your environment is making a claim on your awareness. When you share a home, that kind of real quiet barely exists. Even sitting by yourself with the door closed, your brain knows other people are in the building. It hasn't switched off. The background scan doesn't fully shut off. When you live alone, it does. The engine actually turns off. And what that does for your cognitive recovery, your ability to think clearly, to feel settled, to feel like yourself again, is genuinely significant. This isn't about avoiding people. It's about giving your nervous system actual permission to stand down. Here's one way to picture it. Shared living is like running 40 browser tabs you forgot about. None of them the ones you actually need open, but all of them quietly eating up memory. and making everything slower. Living alone is closing every single one of them. Suddenly, the whole machine runs differently. Trait 2. You have quietly and completely optimized your cognitive load. And most people don't give you nearly enough credit for that. The assumption when someone lives alone is usually that they're stubborn, inflexible, bad at compromise. And look, for some people, maybe there's a small grain of truth in there, but that's not really what's driving it. The actual thing underneath all of this is decision fatigue. And once you get what that actually means, you won't feel the need to explain yourself to anyone about any of this. Here's the thing. Every choice you make, even the stupid small ones, pulls from the same well: getting dressed, what to eat, how to answer a text, what to let go, and what to chase. It all costs something. By the time most people get home from work, that resource is already running shallow, and shared living doesn't give it space to recover. The moment you walk through the door, it makes new demands. Any news on that package? Hey, can we talk about something? Also, who's buying toilet paper? Because it's not me this time. None of these things are unreasonable on their own. The problem is that they stack, and if your brain was already maxed out by noon, walking through the door into more of that, more negotiating, more checking in, more noise, doesn't feel like relief. It just feels like the day kept going. Living alone removes that entire layer. You come home, and the choices you make are your own. Not consensus decisions, not managed compromises, not anyone else's timeline for when things need to get done, just yours. You're not cutting people off because you dislike them. You're protecting something finite and valuable, your mental bandwidth, because somewhere along the way, you figured out that burning it on pointless household politics is one of the most expensive things you can do. Whatever's left in the tank at the end of a long day, you'd rather put it towards something real, something you're actually building. Not a disagreement over dish towels. That's not antisocial. That's just being serious about your own time. Trait 3. Your physical space is a 3D map of how your mind actually works. Walk into a shared apartment sometime. Really look at it. What you usually see is the negotiated version of 2 or 3 people's taste, the compromise furniture, the "you got the rug, so I get the shelf" energy, the accumulated evidence of small battles that nobody fully won. Everything is slightly off from what anyone would have actually chosen if they were doing it alone. It functions, but it doesn't reflect any one person's inner world with any real accuracy. Your place is different. It reflects you, the way you organize, or choose not to, what stays out versus what gets put away. The lamp that makes no practical sense, but the light from it feels exactly right. The corner with 4 half-read books. The thing you collect that's genuinely hard to explain without it sounding weird. It's just there, in plain sight, no explanation required, because nobody's asking. Eric Kleinenberg at NYU spent years looking at how people actually live alone, not the stereotype of it, the real patterns. And one thing that kept coming up was that solo dwellers had a noticeably clearer sense of who they were compared to people in shared homes. And he traced a significant part of that back to exactly this: the uninterrupted relationship between a person and their own space. When your space doesn't have to be a compromise, when it can just be what it is, shaped by you and nothing else, something builds up over time. A kind of self-knowledge that's hard to develop when you're always making small adjustments for someone else being around. There's an old analogy that actually works here: developing a photograph in a dark room. The process needs darkness, stillness, and uninterrupted time. If someone keeps flicking the lights on to ask where the remote is, the image never fully forms. It gets exposed before it's finished. Living alone gives you the conditions to develop clearly. The version of yourself that emerges is more defined, more recognizably, specifically, you. I want to stop here for a second, because something needs to be said before we go any further. Everything I've said so far, it holds up. The research is solid. The psychology is real, but there's a version of living alone that doesn't come from strength, and knowing the difference actually matters. Ask yourself this honestly. Do you live alone because spending time in your own company genuinely makes you function better? Because the quiet replenishes something in you? Because after a full week on your own, you feel like yourself again, sharp, steady, ready? Or is something else going on? Is it that somewhere along the way, people started feeling unpredictable? That rejection showed up enough times that it stopped feeling worth risking? That keeping people at a certain distance started to feel not just easier, but actually safer than letting them in? One of those is a psychological preference grounded in self-awareness. The other is a defense mechanism that has slowly started to look like a lifestyle from the outside. And from a distance, they look identical. Same apartment, same routine, same answer when people ask, but the feeling inside is completely different. If your solitude genuinely feels like freedom, not just escape, but actual freedom, keep going. But if it feels more like a structure you built to avoid something, that's worth taking seriously. Maybe worth bringing to someone you trust, because the last trait only works if the foundation under it is real. Trait 4. You treat your social life like a curated collection, not a numbers game. This is probably the most consistently misunderstood thing about people who choose to live alone. The small social circle gets treated as evidence of a problem. Fewer people equals fewer connections equals something went wrong along the way. But the actual data points in a completely different direction. Research on solo dwellers shows they tend to socialize more deliberately outside the home, and the friendships they maintain are typically deeper and more lasting than those formed out of proximity and convenience. Not because they're somehow better at being friends, because they're more intentional about who they invest in. When you share a living space with someone, some of your social interaction is essentially automatic. You're in the same room, you exchange words. It registers as connection, but a lot of it is just occupying the same square footage. It's light. It requires no real decision. That conversation didn't happen because you wanted it to. It happened because you were in the same room. Living alone means every social interaction costs you something. You have to actually decide to make it happen. Text someone, plan something, show up, and that friction filters things out pretty quickly. The people left standing are the ones who were worth it from the beginning. Your social filter is high. Maybe unusually high. The list of people who actually get invited into your space, who earn real access to where and how you live, is short by design, and the people on that list know it means something. They didn't end up there by accident or default. You chose them, and they can feel the weight of that. That's not a limitation. Most people never operate this way with their friendships because they've never had to. You do it without thinking twice. Step back and look at all of it together. A nervous system that gets a genuine daily reset. Not the surface-level kind, the actual deep kind. A cognitive load that you protect because you understand what it costs to burn through it carelessly. A living space that's actually yours, not a split decision, not a compromise that made nobody happy. A social circle that's small on purpose because the people in it were chosen, not collected. This isn't some personality flaw you're working around. It's a way of being that actually functions, that produces clarity, creative output, a strong sense of who you are, and friendships that mean something, not in spite of the solitude. Because of it, the world is going to keep selling the other version, the packed house, the open-door policy, the belief that more people in your space automatically equals more happiness. And people will keep asking the question they think is finally going to get to you, but don't you get lonely? Let them ask. You know what loneliness actually feels like, and it is not this. It's not coming home to a quiet room that belongs entirely to you. It's not making your own choices at your own pace. It's not the specific, particular kind of peace that only settles in when the door closes and the noise stops. What they keep calling lonely, that's what you call home. And the people who actually matter, the ones who earned their place in your world, they know exactly where to find you. They just know to knock first.